Just when you thought it was safe to go back to grocery outlet, I returned, this time online, as your virtual coach. Good morning, it's me, your virtual coach. And this morning you find me where I am all summer long, in my pumpkin patch. I've been spending maybe 6 hours a day here burying vines and doing all the work that's involved in growing gigantic pumpkins, just like you guys have been out there spending your days running the miles that are needed to get the results that you want at the end of the season. I had something happen here in the patch just yesterday, which made me realize something that is really obvious and also relates to what you guys are doing as well. This is the cabinet where I keep all of the fertilizers and different things that a pumpkin grower uses to make their pumpkins grow bigger than they should. And one of the things that is really common for pumpkin growers is to think that using more of a fertilizer or more water or more whatever is going to give you more, bigger, and better results. And in the pumpkin world, we call it the Moron theory, because if you keep putting more on and more on and more on, eventually disaster is going to happen and you are not going to get the results that you were hoping for. What's really important is that you use all of these tools in the appropriate amounts so that you get the results that you are hoping for. Behind me here, you can see my automatic watering system. It's a thing called a dosatron, which basically is a fertilizer injector, which takes the fertilizers that I put into this 55-gallon barrel, and every time it runs, it automatically distributes those fertilizers and insecticides or fungicides, whatever I decided to run for that week, right to the roots of the plants. And it's a great way to get results and get your big pumpkins to go even bigger and heavier than they otherwise would be. This year is the first year that I've ever used a dosatron, and I'm just so in love with what it's able to do and think it's so super cool. I'm just completely infatuated with it. The problem is I've always hand watered, and I also run misters, so when it gets hot, these misters automatically go off, and I've allowed my plants to get too wet. And being the moron pumpkin grower that I am, I'm causing myself problems by using too much, too soon. And in terms of being a runner, I just want to caution all you guys. I know this summer everyone is aiming for some high mileage goals, and just be very careful about ramping things up too fast. And also be very aware of how your body feels and how your mind feels as you're doing this. It's really easy to get caught up and be excited in the whole process and not be completely honest with yourself and realize that, you know, maybe you're doing more damage than you're doing good. So, and I'm not saying not to run high mileage. Trust me, I believe in pushing the limits as much as possible. But just be really in tune with the reality of what your body's doing and how you feel and whether or not it's taking you where you want it to end up. Behind me to my right, you can see the plant that lost basically about 5 feet of vines because it rotted all the way through. And by actually tearing this out and doing a little autopsy on what remained, I got down to my soil and I just saw how wet it was in the soil, and it should never be that wet. And again, I am a moron. I just got back from the pumpkin patch, and as I was driving home, I had one more thought on this moron theory. A good friend of mine who's one of the better growers in the world, one of my favorite guys to beat actually, always says to me, follow the directions on the label. Which really is great advice. And you guys, make sure you follow the directions of your coaches. I encourage you to do everything you can to push the limits. But ultimately, If you do things right, you're going to get the results that you want. If you do things that you shouldn't be doing, you're going to crash and burn. That's it for now. I am your virtual coach, and we'll catch you next time.